A lot of the main reasons that people are getting back surgeries, knee surgeries, hip surgeries, replacements, etc., is because their body is not properly aligned any longer, because they've gotten so used to being in these compressed positions and their body no longer accesses or engages the muscles that are really important for keeping the body actually healthy and moving freely. So I'm gonna give you some exercises that you can do today to help reverse some of the effects of living in a way where you're sitting in a chair all the time, working at a computer all the time, sitting at a desk, or just otherwise doing things that may not be in service to your body in the long run. So before I show you guys some of the exercises, the reason why we're doing this and why this is important, if we're living in a world where we're constantly sitting, let's say we're sitting up against a chair, we're slouching back, we're doing this thing where we're pushing our hips forward, this is going to end up tightening a lot of our muscles and creating compression in the body. So the purpose of decompressive exercises is to help kind of reverse some of that. Our bodies were not originally designed to sit in chairs. Chairs were not a thing. There weren't a lot of surfaces right at this level. We would have to be very comfortable with squatting all the way down, getting up and down from the floor. But now we have a lot of chairs. We have pretty easy access to things around this level, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with sitting on a chair that's here. However, when we get into this position where we're kind of slouching down here, creating this bad posture with our upper body, our hips are tucking forward, so we are losing a lot of the strength in our back and our back muscles, and the backside of our body's ability to engage kind of lessens over time. It becomes really important to put ourselves in positions where we're more comfortable with activating that backside. So again, all of these are just to reverse modern day living. The decompressive exercises, while I'm calling them exercises, are not particularly hard things to do. They're actually generally very comfortable. You may find that a position feels a little bit wonky, so you'll have to shift a little bit. But for the most part, these positions are very relaxing. I have fallen asleep doing them before, so they're not going to be super stressful on the body or the nervous system. But the implications that these have over time, if you're doing just a little bit every single day, can be monumental for how your body is moving and your overall health and longevity. So the first one that I'm going to show you guys today is my personal favorite, and this is called back lying decompression. When you're ready to do these, go ahead and grab a pair of these bands. I recommend going for the light or the moderate weight ones just to start, see how that feels, and some kind of a surface that you're comfortable laying on. So for me personally, I have a black mat that I'm very comfortable on. I also have a rug that I can sit on. I recommend something like that. That's going to give you a little bit of cushion, especially if you have hardwood floors. And then something that you can prop your legs up on. This can be a chair, this can be a yoga ball, this could be a couch, any kind of a flat or moderately flat surface that is stable enough for you to put your feet on or put your legs on is going to be helpful. There's also a version of this where you can put your feet up on the wall, and I will show you guys how to do that. But I'm going to start out by showing you what it looks like to put your legs on a surface. Now for the back lying decompression, this one's pretty simple. All you're gonna have to do, if you have those bands, go ahead and put your feet through it. So you're gonna put it around your knees. You're gonna lift your feet up onto a surface. I recommend scooting your butt a little bit closer so you're maybe a little bit over 90-degree angle at your knees. You don't want to be super tucked in. You also don't want to be super straight out. So I say close to a 90 degrees is pretty ideal. You're gonna go ahead and lay yourself back. Open up your hands. So instead of, keeping yourself in this crunched position, again, we're trying to reverse those positions where you're constantly hunched forward. So I would say open up your elbows, put your hands up facing the sky, and just lay here. Few things to note though, when you are laying here, I personally like to play with pressing my heels down into the surface that I have. This is why I really like to use a couch or something. Again, you can do this on the wall, which I'll show you how to do in a moment, but my personal preference is to put my feet on a surface and to really play with pressing those heels down. This is going to help activate the hamstrings, the backside of the body, and the band that you have here, I like to focus on pushing those knees out just a little bit so it starts to activate the glutes. This is again going to help bring the energy to the backside of the body, and while we're laying here, it helps to open up the chest, the neck, and the shoulders. A couple of other things to note while you're laying here: taking deep breaths in through the nose, really breathing into your abdominals and out through the mouth. That process is going to be really helpful for you, decompressive breath work. And then I like to have my toes almost facing each other. So if you think about your big toes turning and looking at each other, almost like they're going to give each other a kiss. This motion can help again to open up the hips, open up everything here, open up the femurs, put a lot of the energy into the backside of your body, which again is where we would like to be putting our energy. And from here, all you have to do is just relax, which is very nice. It's one of the best exercises. You can just sit here and relax. If this feels uncomfortable, if you're experiencing any kind of lower back pain, you can put a little pillow down or something underneath just to help relieve some of that tension if it feels good for you. You can also make a little diamond with your hands, put that underneath your tailbone. However, in doing this, it does kind of bring the shoulders forward. So I would recommend, if you're gonna do that, try to do that to figure out what position feels right for you, what feels good. And then if you can bring the hands out at any point, that would be ideal. Something else to keep in mind with the backline decompression, you can also use a yoga block. So if you would like to put a yoga block behind your head, underneath your neck, or a pillow or something, you're more than welcome to do that. Now, one of my personal favorite hacks, if I am working from home, I have a lot of emails to read, messages to go through, etc. I personally like to put my laptop on my lap while I'm doing this. So I will put my feet up, get into my position. Usually I'll have a headrest of some kind. Sometimes I'll put a little pillow here just to protect from feeling like the laptop is driving into my abs. And I will just open this up here and start working from here. This is a very comfortable position to get some work done. Again, it is really helping to bring some of the energy into the backside of the body, helping to relax and decompress. And to me, it feels like a lot more of an open position than it does to be sitting in a chair where my hips are being pressed forward unnecessarily. If you do not have a couch handy or something else that you can put your feet up on, or if you just want to do something a little bit different, you are also welcome to put your feet up onto a wall. Now, this is going to look very, very similar. I'm going to be facing the direction of the wall. I'm going to lay down on my back. Again, ideally have those hands out, palms facing up, and I'm just going to put my feet up. With this position, you want to think about having your toes pointed at the very least forward. You do not want to have your toes pointed out here. So having your toes pointed up or almost towards each other. Sometimes I'll have my toes sort of look at each other, and I'm really thinking about pressing my feet into the wall, pressing my heels into the wall. Again, activating the backside of my body ever so slightly. This doesn't have to be a major activation. You can also just lay here and allow all the energy to flood into the backside of your body. You do not have to be pressing actively with this one. You do not have to actively be pressing with the other one as well. I just think that personally that helps me to get into the backside of my body. So I like to do that from time to time. But if you want to just sit, lay, watch a movie, just laying here is going to be super good for you, especially if you're someone that notices a lot of back pain, a lot of back tightness, or a lot of hip tightness. This may, for some of you, feel a little bit uncomfortable up front. You may have to put a pillow or something underneath just to add a little bit of cushion or to help your body, but eventually you want to get to a place where you can just lay on the somewhat hard ground with maybe a mat over it, just like this. The next decompressive exercise that I would recommend is called Pigeons. Now, this one is a little bit more of a stretch. I do really enjoy it, again, especially if I'm noticing that my hips are feeling super tight, or if I'm having lower back pain or lower back tightness. Now, for the pigeon stretch, you're gonna start on your hands and your knees. You're gonna push your glutes, your butt to one side, so we'll start with the left side. So I'm gonna press them over to the left side. My feet are gonna just ever so slightly, so if you notice that my feet in the back here are just moving ever so slightly away from the direction of my glutes. So from the side, it's gonna look like this. Press the hips out, move those toes ever so slightly in. You're gonna lift up. If I have my left side, if I'm pressing to my left side, my feet go to the right. I'm gonna lift up that right leg and slowly bring it back so that this back knee is then going to be behind this leg. Ideally for this position, when you're in a pigeon, you want the weight to be loaded onto this leg that the knee is pressing into the mat. This back leg is a little bit more for balance. It's helping us to move our structure. It's helping to keep us upright, but we're not pressing into this back leg. As soon as we press into this back leg, you'll notice this when you do it, you may feel your hip starting to kind of lose pressurization. So while I'm in this pigeon position, I'm really pressurizing this leg and I'm pressurizing this glute. Ideally, I should be able to lift up this back leg, move it around if I want to. Every time that I lift this back leg, I will feel a little bit more pressure in this glute and in this hamstring, and that's what I want. I want to be pressurizing, again, the outside and the backside of the body. From here, I can press this knee back. If I want to go down on my elbows, I can. I personally like to turn my upper body towards this leg that I'm planted on. Once I've hit about maybe 1 to 2 minutes on this side, what I like to do is come back to center and do the same thing on the other side. So now I'm gonna press my hips to the right, feet are gonna come over to the left foot lifts up, pressurizing this right side of my body, the glute, the hamstring. Again, I'm pressing to the outside of my foot. I don't wanna be here. I wanna make sure that the outside of my foot is firmly planted on the mat. And this back leg can slowly press back. Again, I like to move my shoulders to face the direction where that knee is planted. So if I'm on my right leg, I'm gonna slowly kind of shift my body to the right. Maybe I can pick up this right hand and really just see what it feels like to put all of my weight into that side of the body. When you're done, you should notice that the back side of your body feels activated, but not in a way that feels like you just worked out for 10 years. It should feel activated in a way that's like, oh, those muscles are turned on. Your hips should feel more open. Your lower back pain, if you have any, should be relieved at least a little bit by doing this exercise. Next decompression exercise I'm gonna show you is super helpful, especially if you find that you're in a position where you are hunched over, working at a screen, doing this type of emotion all day. This is going to help to reduce the impact of that quote unquote tech neck, where the neck is propelled forward. If you have your phone in front of you, you're working at a computer screen again, we have this tendency to really push the neck forward. So this exercise is meant to help open up the chest, bring everything back so that you have, again, really good posture. You can have your chin stacked nicely over your shoulders, stacked nicely over your hips, stacked nicely over your toes. If there's a misalignment in the way that those are stacked, that's where injuries are gonna happen. For this exercise, you're going to be laying down on your stomach. You're welcome to have your toes tucked under like this, or you can have them flat so that you're on the top of your feet, whichever one feels more comfortable for you. You can also change this up from day to day. What really matters for this particular decompressive exercise is that your knees are slightly bent and they're actually pressed onto the mat. I don't want to see the knees up, even if you tuck those heels under. The knees need to be touching the mat. Again, tops of the feet or having heels tucked under, totally fine. With your upper body, you're going to make sure that you're not tucking your chin so much that you're losing, if you notice in my voice, I'm losing the structure in my neck. I also don't want to be looking up like this. So for this one, not so great for watching TV unless you have an iPad directly underneath you. You don't want to find yourself in a position where you're encouraging your body to scrunch up the back side of the body. You want to find length in your spine. So with this decompressive exercise, pressing the knees, pressing the tops of the feet, or again, bottoms of the feet, whatever is more comfortable for you, down into the mat. Today I'm feeling like having my toes tucked, and so that's what I'm going to do. My hands are going to start next to my chest. I'm going to roll the shoulders back, open up the chest, find length in the neck. Again, this doesn't mean compressing the front side of your body, but you really want to make sure that you're almost, if you had like a laser coming out of your nose onto the mat, you're going to draw a little line with that laser. From here, I'm going to walk my hands out in front of me. I want to think about keeping the chest open, feel into what it feels like to stretch from one side to the other. Again, really as much length in your spine that you can physically produce. That's what we're looking for, lengthening out the spine. So from here, I'm going to take a deep breath in, breathing into my abdominals, and then from there, opening up my chest, allowing the breath to open up the chest, open up the backside of the body. When I exhale, I'm going to walk those hands a little bit farther forward. I'm going to keep doing this, breathing in and exhaling, expanding, until I feel like I'm in a position where I'm nicely stretched. I don't want to feel any pinching, any major pains. There should be no quote unquote red lights with it. It may feel a little spicy. You may feel a little bit of your muscles working. That's totally fine. That's very, very different than feeling like something is going to pop or injure you. So listen to your body. If you're feeling like, oh, this is definitely not it for me, then you don't want to do this one, or reach out to me and let me know if you have questions, and I'm happy to let you know if it looks like something could be tweaked. Once you've completed this decompressive exercise, you can bring your hands to your chest. I like to focus on pushing with my knees, pressing myself up, get a free push up there, and then slowly bring myself up to a seated position. The next exercise that you guys are going to do is the forward fold. This is something that you can do with the bands on if you would like to, but you do not need to. You're going to start out with your feet about shoulder to hip width apart so that you're in a nice comfortable stance. And from this position, you're going to focus on pressing your hips back. So the thing that I want you to remember with the forward fold is this is not I'm bringing my shoulders down motion. This is I'm pushing my hips back motion. As the hips push back, you'll find that your chest will naturally start to fall. So with this, I do recommend for starting to kind of think about pressing your heels, maybe pressing a little bit more energy into your heels, pushing your butt back. From there, you can focus on bringing the toes down. But if you're leaning too far forward or your weight is all in the front of your feet, you're gonna find that it's gonna feel a little bit more natural to sink the shoulders before the hips. And we want the hips to be the primary driver of this action. So you're gonna press those hips back. You'll feel a nice stretch in the backside of your body. Allow your chest to come down. If you cannot reach your hands to the floor, that's totally fine. I want you to start with where you're at. So if you have to utilize a yoga block, maybe put a yoga block down where your feet are, you're more than welcome to do that. You Can start by pressing those hips back. Again, if you can't touch the floor, you can put the block here, you can put the block on its side, you can put the block facing down, wherever you can comfortably get, so that you ideally have your palms on the mat or on the yoga block is going to be what's best. And if this is too much for you or too far for you, you can also use a chair or a surface that's a little bit higher up and place your hands down on that. What I really want for you to be focusing on with this motion and with this movement is pressing the hips back, getting into the back side of your body. You are gonna feel a nice stretch in your hamstrings. From here, wherever you get to your most comfortable point. So we'll say I'm gonna have my block on its side, pressing my palms down into the block. I'm gonna focus on making sure that my toes stay nicely pointed forward, pressing my energy and my hips back. Again, I'm not gonna be leaning forward. I'm not gonna be pushing my knees forward. My legs are not fully locked out. There is a soft bend in them. And I'm really just focusing on pushing my butt back. From here, I wanna lengthen the backside of my body, including my neck and spine. You don't wanna be so chin tucked that you're looking behind you, but you also don't wanna have this sort of erect posture where your chin has this huge gap to your sternum or to your throat. And I'm just gonna press my energy back, press my hips back, really focus on pushing into this. This one is gonna feel a little bit more like a stretch every time that you breathe in. You're gonna think about breathing into your abdomen, breathing into your stomach, and then after you've gotten some breath into there, think about rolling the breath so that it's opening up the shoulders as well. If this makes no sense to you, just play with it when you're in the position. Breathing into the backside of your body. See what that feels like. See what it feels like to round your shoulders, to open up the backside of your body, really opening everything up. You can play with if you're twisting to one side, twisting to the other side, but really just focusing on opening up the backside of the body, pressing your energy back constantly here. I do recommend for this one, the forward fold. Again, you start with at least 1 to 2 minutes here. It may feel like a bit much, but it's a really, really great place to start really opening up and feeling the backside. Once you've been in this position for at least 1 to 2 minutes, you can slowly start to roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. You don't want to do this super fast right now. This is probably the fastest I would recommend going, until your shoulders are stacked nicely over your hips and your hips are stacked nicely over your feet. So these are your decompressive exercises. You can do these at any time of the day, morning, night, middle of the day if you need a little bit of a stretch. I recommend sprinkling these throughout the day, but if you find that you're going to be sitting for a long period of time, maybe doing a little block before and a little block after, especially after, to help reopen the body after you've been sitting in this compressed position. I hope that this helps, and thank you guys so much. If you have questions, please reach out and let me know.